Hey guys, Sailing7 here, and welcome to the pre-race show for HRL Season 13, quarantine season. We're going to be looking at the tracks here. In the intro there, you had a little preview of some of the tracks, and got to see laps on some of them. And the two tracks by Opix, all I was able to get were the one lap for Volition, so I'm not going to re-show that here. That's what I had. So you saw that in the intro. So for that track, there you go. You get a look at that. From that, you can go back and rewatch the intro if you want to get a better look at it. And then the screenshot previewing Eldora, which I didn't really want to show that one off as it being like the final track. So you have the screenshot. You can take a look at it from there and maybe get some insight on how it'll run. But I did have some footage for that one, or at least like an early test version of it, and I don't think it is that much different than it was. But again, I don't know. It's last track. Kind of cool to keep it till the end, I guess, and not show it off too much now. The track you're looking at, or you're just looking at, was River Rapids. If you didn't recognize it from the intro there, that was River Rapids, old TRS track coming back from Halo 4. Going to be racing it here, and should be pretty fun. That one is going to land on the schedule as the 9th race. Here we're looking at London Arena Cross. This is a Season 4 Arena Cross, and kind of an interesting season. Season 4 is one that, like, as far as the Halo 5 seasons and tournaments go, I feel like I don't hear Season 4 being talked about as much, but there's a lot of track variety that season, a lot of good races, a lot of competition too, and London was one of the craziest races of the season for sure. And it's just a really simple, this is like a bread and butter track for Halo to be like a memorable track, I think, in the sense that it's like super simple, super easy to get a hold of, easy to pick up, hard to master though. You can definitely improve your times on that track surprisingly significantly by running some laps on it and getting some of the lines down and getting some good practice on it, but it just always has good beating and banging action. Here we're taking a look at Daenerys GK. This is I believe the second GK that we'll be racing on the season. We are racing two of them, so getting some go-kart action here in the schedule 2. This one's going to be raced in the playoff format, which we'll get to that here later in the video. We're still going to be going through the track preview here, and later in the video, if this goes as I plan it, then maybe some of you would be watching it on stream too. But yeah, Daenerys GK track that was made for the go-kart season, which hopefully we'll get back to at some point, and just made to be a fast, fun, challenging go-kart. Supposed to be a track that's like not super hard, but it does have some technicality, right? Like, look at this, there's some pretty difficult sections here, but at the same time, the second half of the track you run mostly wide open, so it's supposed to strike that balance, be pretty fun, but also be pretty difficult. Here you have the other go-kart, Eagle River, and you could just feel the nostalgia when you load on this track. If you've raced any of those old HRL races or seen any of them on YouTube, yeah, classic track here for sure. This is one of those, like, HRL has a lot of these tracks where it's just like a historic track, one of those that you want to win at. This is definitely one of those tracks, and yeah, well, this will be like right at the halfway point of the season, the second 3-race tournament, so not too far off. But yeah, this will be a fun one for sure, and I'm sure we'll see some dumb crashes on here. This track is very tight, and lots of battles too, and probably some lapper action, because it's just kind of inevitable on this track. You can't really avoid it with how small this track is and how tight it is. You're just going to have some lap traffic action that can mix up the race too. So because of all those reasons, and plus it being like decently difficult, I mean, it's not the hardest track in the world, but you can definitely make some easy mistakes on here. Always makes for a good race. Now we're taking a look at Alucard Arena Cross. This is a newly forged one for the season. This will be at the last week of the season too. There's going to be that 2-race event for the last week. Eldora Speedway is going to be the last race, and this will be the one before that. So yeah, Alucard, freshly forged by Roman recently, and yeah, new Arena Cross here. Taking a look at it. A few different lines you can take in most of the sections, so should be a good bit of variety on this track. Should be interesting to see like how we figure it out. There's a lot of different lines you could take here in these sections, this part of the track, so I don't know, I'm interested to see how it pans out and which one of these lines gets favored in these sections, or if there's like a good mix. I don't know, we'll see. You never know with Supercrosses or Arena Cross on how like the balance is going to work out, but I don't know. Fun track, good flow, should be fun either way. Just curious to see how it plays out. And then moving on to another, or my bad, for some reason in the preview I thought this was the other Arena Cross, but moving on to another oval in the series, the Bennington Bowl here. Should be an interesting track, high speed track. Outside is still the fastest here, even without the cushion, but no walls, just the barriers on the inside, and like I guess the terrain that almost serves as a rumble, but no walls on this track. Could easily just fly into the stands there. But yeah, interesting little track here, and I'm curious to see how the lines work out on this one. I think there's a lot of different ways you could run it, despite it being so small and simple. So I don't know. I think this one should be pretty good for pack racing. And we move on to another oval here. This is the third. We'll see the last one here in a bit. This is Toussaint Raceway. And this one is sort of like throwing it back. We had one of these tracks, I would say the track that we could compare to this last season was that Pepperjack Park. I think it was Pepperjack Park Raceway. It was the second one that we raced. And that one was more of a, I think it took some drivers off guard because it was more of a throwback track in the sense that it raced more like a traditional Halo oval track and not a Halo 5 oval track, whereas Halo 5 oval tracks you have like the staples of, a lot of grab volumes. I mean, not anymore, but generally in the past working grab volumes on a lot of Halo 5 ovals, and then there's the cushion line, and that ended up being on a lot of tracks, and there's usually stuff like that, usually like inside barriers that allow you to go inside but still protect it in some ways, whereas this track just has like a straight up inside barrier that keeps you in the track, and it's a super tight track. Maybe go like 3 wide there. I don't know. That one will be interesting. We tested it. The lines were surprisingly balanced. I'm curious to see how it works out. Here we go on Vizima Arena Cross. This will be the last race of the night tonight, hopefully, on Vizima. And yeah, really small, tight Arena Cross here. I expect this one to be absolutely cheesy. Could it be cheesier than London? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but it could be, because some of these sections are pretty difficult to get down, actually. Like this sand section can be super tricky. The whoops can be pretty tricky as well. And once you get like when we were doing our controlled tests with just a few people, it wasn't that bad, and we're able to run it pretty clean. But once you get a pack on here, and potentially like lap traffic and stuff like that, I don't know how it'll work out. I don't know how intense it'll be, and as far as like the battles go and wrecking and stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see. I think this could be a really cheesy track and a really cheesy race, but again, not sure. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. And we go to the first track that we'll be racing tonight for the season, Skellige Speedway, going to open up the season. And this one's a bit different. For all these ovals in this complex, tried to make them a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. And this one's a little bit different in the sense that it's like pretty fast. This track, like, look at how much speed you carry, and as far as going through any of the lines, like, you carry a lot of speed inside, middle, outside. Outside cushion is probably favored, but you carry a lot of speed throughout any of the lines on this track, and it's also very wide too. That's something a lot of my ovals I tend to make tighter, but this track's pretty wide. You could go like 6, 7 wide on here or something like that. So a lot of room to work with, and just different and different for me especially. This isn't the type of oval that I usually forge, so this one was really fun to make and really fun to drive. I think this is like the closest to a classic Halo oval while still having that Halo 5. You got the cushion feel, but this also feels like it could be an oval in like Halo Reach or Halo 4 or something like that, with just like the tight corners and stuff like that, but still a little more wide open and fast. I don't know. Feels like it strikes a good balance on this track. I think this track might strike the best balance in me trying to go for that like Halo 5 style, but also paying homage to the older style. And we transition neatly into the second race. This will be the second race of the night of our first 3 race tournament. The Corona Classic, potentially. I don't know. Maybe we'll stick with that name, or maybe that'll be the next one. This one probably should be like the Witcher something, but the next one could be the Corona Classic. That could definitely work. Anyways, Blaviken TRS here, and this one you can see the collisions. I'll try to point them out on this next lap. Hopefully we get this next lap in. There's only about a minute of time on all these tracks, but yeah, you have a few collisions on this track. It's a really tight track as far as TRSs go, and it's really tricky. As far as the collisions go, you have one coming up right here is one of them. You can see a lot of collisions happening there. And then you're going to have another one coming up, and this next corner is the trickiest in the track. We're going to have a lot of people messing this up. You just go in with so much speed into that downhill, and it's super tight as well. But we also have another collision right there. Definitely going to see a lot of people get cleaned up. That part's going to be treacherous all night, and that wraps it up for the tracks for the season. There's the preview for all of them, and let's get into the next part of this. So now we're going to move on to a bit of a recap of the last season before we can jump ahead, move forward to the next. So take a look at the schedule here. Was originally planned to, basically an impromptu season, originally planned to be 8 weeks of racing, or not 8 weeks, but 8 rounds, and I don't know, had enough people, and most of us are enjoying it, so we extended it, added an extra 2 races at the end, and as you can see, opening weekend, Barvo and Yeti Detail had a really good only showing there. And then following that, Portland and Vengerberg, we had, this could almost be called the sweep season, because this is just the way it went. Like, if you look, there's that little middle portion from Capua Dome to Chili Cup where drivers started to trade off. And then everything else was sweeps. There were actually more sweeps than not. If you look at it, there were. That's crazy. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I really don't. That's kind of ridiculous. But yeah. Obviously, Detail, after coming off the double sweep in the beginning, would have the points advantage, but not showing up for another race afterwards. So Vulcan actually took the points advantage after that, and he was having a pretty strong start to the season and kept that going for a bit, and then had a rough showing at Pepperjack Park Speedway, and then it kind of went downhill from there. And Armada was starting to catch fire in the middle portion of the season and got pretty close to the lead, but then had a rough last couple races as well. And Roman had a really bad start, but towards the middle and to the end had a much better showing, and that ended up getting him the championship here. As you can see, the 42-point advantage. We'll see that in the point standings too, over second place there. And if you take a look at just the overall results, we had a lot of sweeps, but if you look at the overall results, pretty good mix in there as far as these overall top threes go. So hopefully we can see something similar going into this next season. And I take a look at the standings. Roman taking that over Armada and Vulcan. So yeah, Vulcan just really strong start, and then had that rough week and wasn't able to recover. Ends up losing out that second place spot just barely to Armada. Almost had it. But yeah, definitely a much improved version of Vulcan though overall. Just could not get that win, but could have had a lot more success than he did this season, but still did pretty well. And seems good. If he can, I think what he needed probably was just a season reset. So now he's gonna get it. New season here, and maybe start fresh. Hunter and Opix also really close. So yeah, those Roman had a decent lead for first, but second, third were close, and fourth and fifth were really close as well. Hunter getting the 2-point advantage over Opix. So and if you look at their stats, they were really similar with each other as well. Hunter and Opix having really close seasons, and they were both in that decent tier and just couldn't take the step up to being really competitive for that championship, but weren't too far off of it. And then you have Camby, who somewhat of a disappointing showing, I would say. Usually pretty strong at ovals and had a really strong last oval season, but just wasn't able to get the fire going this season. Ended up having some top fives and a podium, but we weren't able to see what we expected to see, I would say, out of Camby. Sector with the hot start with the heat win at Barvo, and then pretty much downhill from there. Ended up getting a solid points finish out of him being consistent and showing up, but yeah, after Barvo, after that heat win, it was literally all downhill. And he did manage to edge out Shift by 1 point with mulligans, which is insane. Shift had a solid last week. The rest of his season was pretty par for the course as far as he goes, but he had a really solid last week, and that ended up getting him really close to taking that spot over Sector. But yeah, they're just always close in points, and ended up being really close again. And then Solange not showing up to as many races to be competitive, but if he were able to, if you look at the average points per race, I mean, he wasn't too far off of those top 3 competitors or top 5 competitors, so could have been, and almost like a similar story to Vulcan, some really good races, but some inconsistency and a few wins that got away from him. So we could see him and Vulcan both bounce back in the next season here. Two drivers that were like I said, played with inconsistency and just like really close to making that step to being up towards the top and just wasn't able to do it. And then obviously not having the starts also doesn't help. And Jared there in 10th, not making the starts, but he was consistent at the beginning of the season, and he was competitive with Sector. So I mean, if he kept racing, he could have had a decent points finish. Real Dull get conked, and then obviously Detail having that really strong first week, but that's all he showed up for. So with the 168 there, and then Fireball with his own sweep, but just for one race, so has his points there, and Justice with the like one moto that he showed up for at the bottom, and the non-competition Luch stats at the bottom. But yeah, there you go. There's the little recap here as far as the driver standings go, and then again, going back to the schedule, not too much else to pull from this. We pretty much went through it all. I guess the only thing that you could deem from this is you could tell like which drivers should be stronger at the ovals this season, but at the same time, ovals are really competitive, and like the results this season were probably the most consistent they've ever been at oval races. But at the end of the day, you never know. Oval races can always be a wild card, and you'd expect these drivers that we saw in this season to be consistent at the 4 oval races that we have next season. But I don't know. You never know. So there's your recap, and hopefully that can give you guys some info, kind of an idea of what to look forward to, what drivers to look out for. And speaking of what drivers to look out for, we're going to have some intros for some of the mainstay competitors that we'll have next season. Let's roll into that. First up, we have Bromaniac 35, commonly referred to as Roman, 165 starts for him, 13 wins, 23 heat wins, 64 podiums, and his first championship actually came last season in Season 12, so he's coming off of his first championship. Definitely looking for him to ride that momentum into this next season, and who knows if he can pick up another one. So I would say that he's definitely a contender to look out for. He should be able to carry that momentum, and definitely look out for him. Solid stats all around. Next we have Sector 701. 255 starts for him, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's got 6 wins, 11 heat wins, 14 podiums, and he is a Chili Cup winner, and he's won multiple times, I believe, at the old Chili tracks as well. So for some reason, that just seems to be his magic track where he ends up getting wins. But yeah, Justin's just had like some wins here and there. I mean, he's got 6 of them, but just very inconsistent. I'd say that's the story of his career. So if you're looking for him to do something in this next season, is to get that consistency down before we can see some serious results out of him. Now we move on to Ace Helix, otherwise known as Papa Slunch. 380 starts for him. Absolutely insane. 74 wins, 83 heat wins, and 227 podiums. Pretty impressive across the board, especially that podium count. Absolutely ridiculous. First ever TRS champion. So obviously we're bringing back the TRS series, introducing it in Halo 5. He was the first ever champion for TRS in Halo 4. So definitely look out for him on that track type, and let's see if we can get it done on those tracks this season. Time for Armada 223. He's got 152 starts, 13 wins for him, 17 heat wins, and 46 podiums for him. So really solid stats all around for Armada. Nothing too crazy, but just a great career right there. First ever H5 Grand Final champion, and that was all about him having just like a super solid, good upset night out of nowhere. So look out for him in the tournaments. I mean, this tournament format with the bonus points might help him out here. We've got 2 of them early on. Maybe he's one that could steal one of those. Next is Camby. He needs to give some drivers some room. LOL. 141 starts for him, 5 wins, 1 heat win, 14 podiums, and a very strong oval racer. One thing that I find interesting in his stats, a lot of these drivers at the lower end of the wins tend to have more heat wins than wins, but he actually has more wins, which is kind of odd. And yeah, just a very strong oval racer. I'm not going to double check it, but I'm like pretty sure all those wins came at ovals, so that is where you have to look out for Camby, and we have 4 of them on the schedule. So I mean, if he can get good finishes there, he can have a good season. Now we're on to Standby Luke 7, 538 starts, absolutely ridiculous start stats from him, Slunch, and Sector, just insane. I don't even want to know what the combined number is. 168 wins, 125 heat wins, so more wins than heat wins, same as Camby, kind of odd there. 452 podiums, and a 31.23% win percentage, which as far as drivers go that have like more than 30 starts or something like that, I think the only one that maybe rivals him there is NJD off the top of my head, so pretty good stats all around. Onto Hunter Unit, one of our UK drivers. He's got 179 starts under his belt, 3 wins, 10 heat wins, 21 podiums. Very well-rounded stats right there. 11.73% podium percentage there for his starts. So Hunter, one of those drivers that's like always on the cusp of being really competitive and is always just sort of like in that middle pack. So I mean, you never know. He's one of those drivers that could always, like, if he just takes that next step, he could be right there in the hunt. So on to the dark horse in Opex Onic. 132 starts, 4 wins, 8 heat wins, 19 podiums. Very similar stats to Hunter. Very comparable stats to Hunter. Last win coming at Mirabilis. Has wins at Mirabilis, Magna Tempest, and Eagle River. So pretty big historic tracks there for as far as his wins go. And I say the dark horse driver because he's similar to Hunter. He's one of those drivers that's always like sort of on the cusp. And if he could take that next step, he could be in that competition. Like last season, it was him and Hunter with each other. So could be really close. Definitely look out for him. Time for I'm So shift-faced. 75 starts for him. 0 wins. 0 heat wins, unfortunately. 1 podium under his belt. And his highest career finish actually came just last season. At one of the last races, he finally got a second place finish. So Shift looking up. He actually had a really decent run. Probably one of his best overall nights as far as his career goes last season, at the end of last season. So who knows? Maybe Shift could get something going into this next one. Now on to Stray Felix, otherwise known as Vulcan. 177 starts for him, 1 win, 8 heat wins, 13 podiums. Very similar to like Hunter and Opex, pretty well-rounded stats. Only career win for him came at Grizzly, a very tough track to win at, and he has a ton of like close second place finishes where he easily could have gotten the win and just lets it slip away. So if Vulcan can figure out a way to close out these races and clutch up those wins, we could see way better performances out of him and definitely good competition from him. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed those driver intros and previews there. Pretty fun to do, and yeah, something new, something different. Hope you enjoyed it. So now it's time for just like giving all the info that we should need to give out on the new season. Prin is freaking out, you might hear in the background. That is unfortunate timing. Go through some of the basic parts of the format here and hopefully get everybody up to date with it and ready to go so that there's, you know, not too many questions to ask once we get started with it. So point system is the same as last season, but I'll go through it anyways. So we got first place is 40 points, and this is for the motos. Second place is 37, third is 35, fourth is 34, 33 for fifth place, sixth place 31, seventh place 30, eighth is 29, ninth 28, 10th is 27, 11th is 25, 12th is 24, 13th is 23, 14th is 22, 15th 21, and rounding out the field, 16th with 20 points, bonus points. Heat wins will net you 1 bonus point. Overall wins will net you 2 bonus points. Hard Charger Award, 1 bonus point for that. There are also bonus points for winning the tournaments. So nice Prin, nice. All right, I'm leaving that in the video. Other basic stuff, we'll go through this. We went through it last season. I'll go through it again. Nice. 2 heats, 2 motos. Races are going to be laps. Laps will be based on lap time as far as like the track goes. Heats should be around 4 minutes long. Motos should be around 10 minutes long. 5 minutes of pre-race practice. Ideally, season will be, what, 12 races long on the schedule? You're 12 races long, or 12 tracks. My God. 2 mulligans. Or, sorry, I was going off last. I was just pissed right there. All right, so no mulligans. Not going to need mulligans this season because of the format that we'll be getting to in a little bit here. Same basic rule set as normal as far as like everything else with the revenge rule and everything. Races will start around 6 Eastern. Previous practices before that. All tracks are short tracks. Oh my God, I'm still reading off the old stuff. Sorry. This season it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be we have TRS, Arena Cross, Go Kart, and oval tracks as well. Cautions are 2 goose pileups or 1 goose dismounts, or if anyone flies off the track. That goes for ovals as far as TRS, Arena Cross, and Go Kart. No cautions on those. Starts and restarts are double wide. Same green white checkered rules from the past apply. Heat finish will determine the first moto starting order, and second moto starting order is the invert of the first moto finish. So you take the first moto finish, you flip it, that's how the second moto starts. As far as the heat races, like the lineups for that, we're not doing it random this season. We're going to go based off of last season's results, and then once we have the first week in for this season, then we'll do it based off of this season's results, and we'll invert it. Overall tiebreaker goes to the better Moto 2 finish, and bonus points do not apply to tiebreakers as far as like the overalls, or finishing as far as overalls go. Bonus points are after the fact. As far as your overall placement, that is just purely your moto points. Prin is annoying. So that's pretty much all I have to go through as far as like the basic rules go. If you want to get on to the more interesting stuff for this season, we're going to be bringing back, so we're not doing the grand final this time. We're going to do something a little bit different, something that we want to experiment with that we haven't done before, although I have done it in Adrenaline, haven't done it in HRL, so something new might make it fun here. Do the playoff format. So 8 drivers are going to qualify for the playoffs, and there will be 2 weeks of racing for the playoffs. There will be the first week, which is River Rapids and Daenerys. That'll be the round of 8 drivers. 4 drivers will get eliminated. We'll go down to the round of 4 for Alucard, AX, and Eldora Speedway. So, playoffs. How does it work? So to get in, what gets you in is a win or points. So if you get a win and you like finish like 12th in points or something like that, but you have a win, and not everybody in the top spot in points, in the top 8 in points has a win, then you will be able to qualify for the playoffs. So wins can get you in despite your points. Now, the secondary thing is points, right? So if it comes down to like several drivers that all have wins, or let's say we have like 2 drivers with the same amount of points, but one has 3 wins, the other one has 2 wins. It'll go to the driver with 3 wins. Okay, so let's say they have the same amount of wins. Let's say it's drivers both with 2 wins. Then it'll go down to points. So that's how that works. So yeah, win and you're in. Otherwise, it goes down to points, and we shouldn't have to worry about too crazy of tiebreakers with that, unless a lot of different drivers win this season. I don't know. You never know. We'll see how it works out. God. Anyways, fantastic finale to this video, by the way. I fucking stayed. I worked on this shit for like 4 or 5 hours before the race just to get prinned here at the end. But yeah, so that's how that'll work. And then as far as the rounds go, it'll just go off of like your points within that round. So the other stuff doesn't apply except for some playoff bonus points. Each win will give you 1 bonus point. And this only applies to the round of 8. So once we get to the round of 4, that is just clean reset. Round of 4, everybody on the even playing field, they go in, best driver comes out. That is round of 4. Round of 8, each win you get during the season will give you a bonus point into the round of 8, and if you win a race in the round of 8, that will punch your ticket to the next round, and it sort of works the same way in that sense. So like you get the win, that takes priority in the round of 8 to get to the round of 4, otherwise it'll go by points. And then like I said, round of 4 it resets, clean slate, best driver, most points at the end of those 2 races will take the championship. So something a little bit new, gonna experiment with that. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Any other questions, let me know, or let me know before the race. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope Prin didn't cheese it too hard at the end. And yeah, let's go fetchin' racing, boys. Oh, yeah!